What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. And this one is the Game Week 23 preview. So I'm going to talk through some of the lineups in the Champions League last night, what that means from an FPL point of view, look at captaincy, and then answer a bunch of your questions as well. So let's get into it. So let's start with a couple of the Champions League midweek matches and what might be relevant from an FPL point of view. For Man City, they lost 3-1 to Bodo. I think that's the first time that Bodo have ever beaten an English club. And I didn't watch the full game, but I watched most of the first half. Man City were awful. They were truly awful once again, just like they were against Man United. From a defensive point of view, they were really open. Had I not seen the lineups, I'm not sure that I would have known that Phil Foden had started. He was completely anonymous, really poor game from him, just not great overall. From an FPL point of view, the key players are really Cherki, O'Reilly. Will they start? And I think people have got concerns around Foden and Haaland as well, whether they might get a rest. By the way, this graphic is taken from Google. I'm not sure that was exactly how they lined up. I think O'Reilly mostly played left back. Aït-Nouri was definitely right back for most of the first half. I think Rico Lewis actually played in midfield. Either way, O'Reilly, Aït-Nouri and Lewis all started. On Haaland, Pep has said recently that he's exhausted and he hasn't scored an open play goal for a while. He's not played great. I'm pretty sure he starts against Wolves. I know Marmoush is back, and Pep Guardiola name-checked him recently, saying once he's back from AFCON, that might let us rest Erling Haaland. I'm still not convinced it comes against Wolves. I will say, looking at Man City's future fixtures, I'm not quite sure where that rest for Haaland comes, but I don't think it will be this week. The thing with Marmoush, yes, he can play number 9. Do you know how many games since Game Week 3 Marmoush has started for Man City? 2. And he's not been injured that whole time. Since Game Week 3, he has not started a game in the league. I think it's 1 Champions League game and 1 Carabao Cup game. That's it. It's not like he was being used before African Cup of Nations. He just wasn't at all. And when he was used, he wasn't really playing that well either. So there is a chance Haaland gets benched. I really don't think it's going to happen. I will definitely captain him. And that's easier because 1, I think he starts, but 2, I don't think there's a huge amount of great other captain options anyway, but we'll talk about that later. So my prediction is Haaland starts. On Foden, I think it's good that he started this game. Like, this is a guy that started every single match since Game Week 4. Yes, he got subbed at half time in Game Week 22, but we know that he had broken bones in his hand. The fact that he's gone straight back into the team should give you confidence that he's going to play. I'm not telling you that you have to keep him. If you want to sell him, you absolutely should. All I'm saying is my prediction is that Foden will start this game. O'Reilly and Cherki I'm much less sure about. And actually, my prediction right now would probably be that they both get benched. Trying to predict the Man City 11 is always really difficult. And it's basically a fool's game because you always just look stupid. But my prediction is Donnarumma in goal. I think if Nunez is back fit, he'll definitely start right back. Kushanoff to play right centre-back again unless Diaz is back. And then Guéhi is going to come straight in. Like, if you've got Guéhi and want to keep him, he is going to play a lot of minutes as the left centre-back with Vardio out. I just don't see how that doesn't happen. They've got to get him in this team as soon as possible. So Nunez, Kushanoff, Guéhi, and I think Ake will play left-back. He didn't start this game in the Champions League. It doesn't mean he definitely comes in. It could be Nico O'Reilly. And if you want to risk it, I get it because it's Wolves at home. But going forward, he's got to go from 24 onwards. There's just not enough confidence in the minutes. Rodri, I think, will probably start again because he got sent off in the Champions League. So he can't play the next match anyway. And he's had obviously a bit of a rest in this game. So Rodri in midfield. I think Semenyo will play on the right. Left, probably Doku. Although after the game, Pep said that they don't have their wingers like Savinho and Doku, which is a weird thing to say because Doku was on the bench. So I don't know if he's not fully fit. But if he is available, I think he will start. And I think the 2 central midfielders will be Foden and Bernardo Silva, like ahead of Rodri. I just do. I just don't think it'll be Cherki playing centrally. So my prediction is Cherki and O'Reilly will probably both get benched. But it is just a guess. I could be completely wrong. The main thing for me is I'm pretty sure Foden starts. I think all this worry about him not playing, I think it's fueled a lot because people want to sell him because he's blanked. And that's fine. He's blanked 6 games in a row. He's been rubbish. You're losing team value on him. If you want to get rid of him, you should. But I'm pretty sure he starts against Wolves. And for that reason, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to keep him instead. So that's my prediction. Donnarumma, Nunez, Kushanoff, Guéhi, Ake, Rodri, Foden, Bernardo Silva, Doku, Semenyo and Haaland. Will I be right? Probably not. Let's see what happens. So the Arsenal lineup was a fun one. As expected, Bukayo Saka started this game, but not only did he start it, he also played the full 90 minutes. He wasn't subbed because of course he wasn't, right? He gets benched against Forest, then plays the full match in the Champions League, where Arsenal pretty much already had top 8 fully secure. But to be fair, as some people have pointed out to me, there is an advantage to finishing in the top 2. So this wasn't a complete nothing game for Arsenal, and they've now secured a top 2 finish. So basically, going forward, because they finish in the top 8, they'll have no playoff games. And because they finish in the top 2, in all the knockout rounds, the second leg for Arsenal will be at home, which is seen as obviously a bit of an advantage. So they've now secured that. So the last Champions League game is a nothing game for Arsenal. It does not matter whatsoever. As long as they don't lose it, they will finish top. And they're not going to lose that game, even if they make lots of changes. Either way, they're going to finish top 2. So no playoff matches, straight into the knockouts, home advantage in the second leg. And also, by the way, because top 8 is now guaranteed and they don't have those playoff games, that means they've got a free midweek in game week 26 to have a double game week. So if they get through to the Carabao Cup final, there is a chance that Arsenal and Wolves will double in 26. And hopefully, because we now know that Arsenal have finished top 8, we'll get a provisional announcement this week that it could happen. That's what happened last season. The Premier League were proactive and they said if this team goes through to the Carabao Cup final, they will have their match against so-and-so in this date. So we may well get a provisional announcement this week. Let's wait and see what happens. On Saka, do I think this now means that he doesn't start against Man United? Not at all. Honestly, if we take Arteta at his word, he had a small problem going into that Forest game and he'd played a lot of minutes. That's why they benched him. The fact that he's played 90 tells you that there isn't an issue there. They've played on Tuesday. The next game is on Sunday. They got a 5-day turnaround. It's Man United at home, who have just put in a really good performance against Man City. Arsenal will go strong. Their strongest team includes Saka. I got to be honest, I don't want to be too sure about Saka starting, because I was very sure about Salah starting not too long ago and then he got benched twice in a row. But I'm honestly a little bit shocked at how many people think that Saka's not going to start against Man United. Just doesn't make any sense. Now, you can turn around and say he's not good value. He could get subbed early. He might get benched in future matches. That's fine. But specifically for game week 23, I am pretty confident, like 99% sure, he's going to start that match. I'd find it very hard to believe it won't happen. And we've also got to acknowledge that Trossard is first choice left winger right now. He also started this match. I would predict him to start against Man United as well. So I think Saka will start. And the good news, if that happens, if you're an owner, is it's very likely Madueke plays that final Champions League game, because it doesn't mean anything really to Arsenal and they can win that even with lots of changes, which means Saka probably starts game week 24 as well. After that, we'll reassess. But the next 2 weeks, I'm pretty confident Saka will start. Timber also played right back. I wouldn't worry if you're an owner. He's also going to start against Man United. Gabriel got a bit of a rest. He came on later on in the game, and it was a Marino, Zubamendi and Eze midfield. So Declan Rice got a nice rest as well, which is obviously great if you're an owner. So my prediction against Man United is Raya in goal, Timber left back, Ben White right back, Saliba and Gabriel, Zubamendi, Rice and Odegaard, Saka, Trossard and probably Gyökeres, although Jesus did score twice last night. And I didn't watch the game, but by all accounts looked pretty good. Gyökeres also came on and scored as well. So there's a bit of competition there, but I'm pretty sure Gyökeres starts up front and just gets subbed around the 60th, 70th minute. So I think the Arsenal team is much easier to call than the City one. Raya, Timber, Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White. The midfield is so obvious. Zubamendi, Rice, Odegaard. That's clearly first choice. And then Trossard, Gyökeres, Saka. I'm pretty confident. I don't know. Don't want to be 90% sure that'll be the lineup. In fact, the only one I'm not as confident on is Gyökeres. Could Jesus have played himself into the team? Maybe, but I'm pretty sure Gyökeres will start. By the way, if anyone comes back, like in Cappier, then maybe he plays left back and Timber just plays right back and Ben White doesn't start. But we have to wait and see. Mosquera also started last night, so there's a bit more competition now for the centre-back spots. But again, that's just going to get used in the non-important games. Like in the final Champions League game, I'm sure Mosquera will start again and Saliba will get a rest. So There we go. I'm pretty sure Saka starts. Whether you keep him or not, completely up to you. I'm just telling you, I think he will play. So I think we can kind of cover captaincy for game week 23 pretty quickly, because I kind of touched on it earlier when I spoke about the Man City lineup. I'm fairly confident Haaland starts, and for that reason, he is the best captain on paper this week. And I know that he's struggling for goals, and I know that Wolves aren't quite as bad as their league position suggests, but it's still a pretty good fixture. It's not like Wolves are suddenly Arsenal. And yes, Haaland hasn't done very well recently, but that can quickly turn around. And I'm pretty sure he starts. And the other problem with going against him this week, what are the alternatives? Like, I don't mind Saka captain as an alternative to Haaland, but I'm pretty sure most people watching this either don't own him or would not go anywhere near him for captaincy, given that he's been benched in 2 of the last 3 game weeks. And I completely get that. Foden? Are we saying Foden's better than Haaland? No, right? So that's probably the main 2 alternatives. If you look at the rest of the fixtures, like, don't get me wrong, Bruno Fernandes has Fulham at home in 24. I think it's Spurs at home in 25. He's playing really well, going to be playing number 10 under Carrick, etc. Maybe he's a captain in future weeks. Arsenal away, no chance. And people have been saying, the Bruno Fernandes situation is so funny, because some of the stuff people are saying to me now is kind of what I've been trying to say all season, right? When he gets an assist, he always gets bonus, etc. Like, 1 attack and return for Bruno is usually worth 1 to 3 bonus as well. But it is Arsenal away. That is a fixture I never ever want to captain someone in. I just wouldn't go there. You look at Cole Palmer against Palace away, most people don't own him, and if you do, you're probably waiting for the 24 to 27 fixtures to maybe think about captaincy. Spurs players, I know they won last night, but who owns Spurs players, really? Like, are we really at the point where we're saying, like, Xavi away to Burnley is better than Haaland at home to Wolves? It's just not the case, right? I just do not see any other captain options this week. Like, West Ham players against Sunderland or vice versa, no. Fulham, like Raul Jimenez or Harry Wilson against Brighton. Like, these are all players you can punt on if you want. Like Wirtz against Bournemouth. I mean, to be fair, actually, maybe I shouldn't overlook that. Wirtz or Ekitike against Bournemouth away, maybe not too bad. But you got 2 players not on penalties, and it is an away game rather than a home one. I think the problem for me is you've got to have a really good reason to go against Haaland, no matter what his form might have been like recently. I do not think it's there this week. I think it's coming. I think there are weeks coming up where you can go against Haaland. I don't think it's this week. So let's get into some of your questions. If an injured Cole Palmer isn't an option anymore, who are the best Chelsea players for a triple up? Now, I will say, don't completely write Cole Palmer off as an option. For most people, it's probably not going to work. Maybe they don't have the money to go there. Maybe they are just put off by the constant groin problems and stuff like that. But it's worth saying he played 90 minutes in the last game. He has started 8 Premier League games in a row. It's not like he's been missing stuff through injury. Now, he's not been playing that well either. But that can quickly change when you've got the fixtures coming up that Chelsea do. So don't completely write him off. And I think that's for people that are maybe on wildcard in game week 24. Maybe you take the punt on him. It's not like there's a huge amount of other places to spend your money right now. You can easily set up a team with Haaland and Palmer and then maybe go Rice, Gabriel and Timber, something like that. Or if you've got a structure where it's just easy to get to him and you don't need the money. So don't completely write him off. But at this point, I probably wouldn't like rip my team up to get him in. All I would say is a couple of goals against Palace and a good performance, and everyone will change their tune pretty quickly, maybe even myself included in that. So don't completely write off Palmer, but let's say you don't want him. Who do you triple up on? I just don't think you do. I know how good the fixtures are, 24 to 27. And again, maybe if you're on wildcard, you do triple up because it's so easy to put together. For everyone else, it's obviously a transfer in. So if you're swimming in transfers, it's not so bad. But it's almost certainly a guaranteed transfer back out as well. I don't know how long-term Chelsea picks really are. Like once you get past 27, Arsenal away, Villa away, Newcastle at home, nowhere near as good as the 24 to 27. So the obvious 2 are Enzo Fernandez, because his attacking stats this year have been pretty good, and we think his minutes are going to be pretty decent as well. Wouldn't be completely shocked if he misses one of the games between 24 and 27, because if Chelsea don't finish top 8 in the Champions League, which is probably unlikely that they do, they will have additional playoff games to play as well, and they are around some of those easier Premier League games. But Enzo's minutes probably the best of the attackers, and his attacking stats have been good. And also his price is pretty good as well. I know people will mention Neto, and I don't completely hate that, by the way. Like, Neto's actually quite high up, I think. Oh, no, actually, maybe not. That's actually Enzo. If I just go to midfielders here, where is Neto? Wait, am I just completely missing him? I thought he was quite high up. Anyway, I'm obviously talking nonsense. 91 points, 7.1 million. He does play the majority of games. You could look at him as well, but I wouldn't pay extra for him over Enzo. But maybe if you wanted double Chelsea attack, you could go for him. He's probably the next best after Palmer and Enzo, I would say. And then defensively, it's basically Chalobah or Cucurella. Sanchez is okay. He has started pretty much every game, right? But I just, there's something telling me don't go for Sanchez based on what, not Maresca, what Reinildo said the other day about not having number ones, number twos. You got to fight for your place. Like, is there a chance he changes Sanchez at some point? Maybe. I mean, the other options aren't great. So I suspect that Sanchez will just keep his place. I just don't know if it's worth the risk. So for me, Enzo, Chalobah are pretty clear. And then either you take a punt on Palmer or you take a punt on Neto, or you go double defense like Cucurella and Chalobah. The problem with that is, do you want to play back four most weeks? Because if you want to go Timber and Gabriel, you are then playing a back four most weeks, which is not a problem, by the way. But again, once you get to game week 28, those Chelsea defenders are just not very good anymore. Whereas the Arsenal ones will always be pretty decent. So I actually think for most people, probably Chalobah and Enzo, if you're not going to go for Palmer, is all you need to get. I know how good the fixtures are, 24 to 27, but I think there's lots of other good picks as well. Like, let's say you've got, I know it's not as simple as this because you can have 5 midfielders, but let's say you've got Enzo and Rice and your only way to get Neto is to sell Declan Rice. You're just not going to do that, are you? Especially with a potential double in 26. So it's not an absolute necessity you have a triple up, but I would say Palmer, Enzo, Chalobah are the best three. If we don't want Palmer, Neto and Sanchez and Cucurella are probably the other ones that I would look at. So I had quite a few questions on Mark Guéhi. These are the couple that I picked out. So is Guéhi now essential with his move to Man City? And what should we do if we own Guéhi? Now, is he essential? No. I mean, not many players are in FPL, to be honest. But he is a pretty good pick, I think. Like, his minutes should be proper decent, I would say. Like, Vardio is the player that was mostly playing left centre-back. We know he's out for the rest of the season. Surely, Guéhi just comes in and plays. Like, Max Alane has obviously been brought back from his loan to cover because they got so many injuries and stuff. But Guéhi obviously has lots and lots of Premier League experience. He's one of the best centre-backs in the league. He's going to play all the time, I think. Now, he is a Man City player, so I can't guarantee that. But I think he will play a lot. And you look at some of the fixtures they've got coming up. Is it bad to play Guéhi against Wolves at home? No. Fulham at home in 26. Leeds away in 28. If you had to play him against Newcastle at home in 27, these are not terrible. And I know Man City have been bad, right? I've watched them. Awful against Man United. And again, credit to Man United. Awful against Bodo. Again, credit to Bodo. But Man City were not at their best. They can improve once they start getting other players back into that team, like Guéhi, like Ake, like Nunez, etc. So I think obviously he's not essential, but he's not a bad pick. And also, on the question, what should we do if we own him? Look, if he's taken up a spot and you don't want to sell any of your other defenders and you want to get in like Chalobah or Munoz soon or another Arsenal defender, he can be sold, but I wouldn't go out of my way to do it. And one thing that I was reminded of listening to James on Planet FPL the other day, Guéhi started at 4.5. A lot of you got him cheaper than 5.3 million. If you're sat there with a 4.5 million purchase price on Guéhi, and now he's at Man City and the fixtures are quite good, or at least some of the fixtures coming up are okay, I would just hold him. Like, he's benchable. You get to game week 25, you don't want to play him against Liverpool, just don't. Play him against Fulham the next week. So I think for a lot of people, he's actually a hold. I guess your problem comes if you've got 4 or 5 Man City players. Then you've got to choose to sell one. But if your choice is Guéhi or O'Reilly to sell, I'm selling O'Reilly. I think Guéhi's minutes are going to be much better coming up than they are with O'Reilly. O'Reilly's probably more attacking, although Guéhi has got a few attacking returns this year, but the minutes are nowhere near as secure. Would I buy him? No. Because 2 of the next 3 are Spurs away, Liverpool away. And then, like, if I had him and I had to play him against Newcastle at home in 27, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But I've got the choice to buy him and avoid that fixture, so I just wouldn't bother doing that. And also, he is 5.3 million, so he's not super cheap anymore either. It's not a bad price for a City defender, but I don't look at the City defence as, like, essential. Most people have got 1 or 2 Arsenal defenders. You got Chalobah soon, you got maybe Munoz from game week 26. Yeah, Guéhi's not amazing, but if you picked him up less than 5 million, I'd be very, very tempted to keep him. So is Ndiaye back on the menu for Everton? Yes. At least we think he probably will be. We'll have to wait and see what David Moyes says in his press conference, because African Cup of Nations has only just finished, Senegal won, so there might be celebrations and stuff like that. But that game against Leeds in game week 23 isn't until Monday, so presumably Ndiaye will be back for that, and presumably he'll go straight back into the team. And the reason that I think that's become even more likely is because reports came out last night from David Ornstein and The Athletic saying that Grealish has got some kind of fracture in his foot, and that he's probably going to be out for a couple of months. None of that is confirmed, but I think when that kind of tweet and article goes out, they're basically saying this has happened. So Grealish is going to miss out. Ndiaye probably goes straight back in and probably plays in his favoured position. So let's remember that Grealish has obviously been playing on the left. When Dewsbury Hall was fit through the middle, number 10, Ndiaye was on the right, but Ndiaye's best position is probably off the left. He can do both, by the way, but left is probably where he'll get used the most. So he goes back in there. Presumably he goes back to being first choice penalty taker. He's 6.2 million. The fixtures coming up are pretty good. Leeds at home, Brighton away, Fulham away, Bournemouth at home, Man United away. Don't mind him at all. I think he's very, like, if you think about the players that people are buying right now, like maybe Harry Wilson at 5.9 million, could you make a case that Ndiaye for 0.3 more on penalties and guaranteed minutes is a better pick? Absolutely, you could. Now, obviously, you know, he's not essential. You don't have to bring him in. But if you're looking for a cheap midfielder, like I've got Tavernier, for example, if I had the cash to go to Ndiaye, it's definitely something that I would consider. So he doesn't suddenly become essential or anything like that. He just becomes a pretty solid pick for a pretty good price, as long as Moyes says that he's available in the press conference on Friday. So another player that will be back from African Cup of Nations is Ismaila Sarr, and obviously the same thing applies. We'll have to wait and see if he's available this weekend, but I've got a good feeling that Glasner will want to get him back into the team sooner rather than later. This is the question. Any thoughts on Sarr as a possible Tavernier replacement? Is he nailed anymore with Johnson and Pino? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think anyone can say for sure, because obviously Glasner does have a few options there. So if Mateta stays, that might not happen, by the way, but if he does, he will continue playing number 9. Then you've got Johnson, Pino and Sarr to compete for the 2 roles behind him. I'm pretty sure Sarr is nailed. I just think he's so good for that team, and he's done so well under Glasner. I think he will start pretty much every game that he's fit and available for. But obviously with more options off the bench, maybe he gets subbed a little bit earlier. But he has averaged 84 minutes per start this season. I think the difference now is Pino's kind of obviously worked himself into that, or not worked himself in, but he's had a lot more games in the Premier League now to become accustomed to it. I'm really bad with words today. So I guess there is a bit more competition, but I'm pretty sure his minutes will just be good. And also, by the way, the Mateta stuff, that's not really going away. Like last night, again, David Ornstein tweeted to say that Villa have got interest in Mateta. He wouldn't have said that if that wasn't true. Now, there's no bid gone in or anything like that. And Mateta may well just stay, because I suspect that Palace will want a pretty good fee for him. But the rumours are that he doesn't want to sign a new contract, or at least Palace don't want to meet the demands that he has. And if they get a good fee, like they did with Guéhi, he may well go. And if that happens, Sarr's minutes will be great. And someone's got to take penalties as well, so it'll be interesting to see who that is. The other thing to kind of talk about that a lot of people mention with Palace at the moment is obviously what's gone on. Guéhi's gone. Glasner said all that stuff in the press conference. Then there was like rumours that he might go. Then the board have decided to keep him. It does feel like it's on a bit of a knife edge there. Like one more thing, like Mateta being sold, might make Glasner go nuclear, right? We'll have to wait and see what happens. But I think generally they will still be good under Glasner. As long as he stays, we know what system they're going to play. We know what they can do. I don't think there's a huge problem there, especially if Mateta plays. So I think they'll be fine. But if you're a little bit unsure about the situation, surely you just wait. Like, is Ismaila Sarr an option to replace Tavernier? Yes, but it is Chelsea at home and then 2 away games against Forest and Brighton. You could just go elsewhere for now, like an Ndiaye, and then maybe come back to Palace players for game week 26. So 26 is Burnley at home, 27 is Wolves at home, then it's Man United away, Spurs away, then it's Leeds at home in game week 30. And obviously if Man City go through to the Carabao Cup final, Palace will probably blank in game week 31. So I think Sarr's probably an option, but I guess if it's between him and Ndiaye, who I'm buying this week, because of the fixtures Everton have got in the shorter term, especially Leeds at home this week, I'd probably just go there. Plus Ndiaye is a little bit cheaper, plus he's on penalties as well. So I think the situation at Palace in terms of how it's going to affect Palace picks in FPL is being a little bit overblown, but I also acknowledge there's something there, so why not just wait until the really good fixtures start? So I like Sarr, but I'm guessing that most people aren't buying Sarr and Ndiaye. It's one or the other. So I'd probably go towards the Everton man right now. So how nailed is Reinildo at Sunderland? I'm looking at budget defenders, and that 3.8 million price point is very tempting. As far as I know, he's absolutely nailed. If you're a Sunderland fan and you don't think that's correct, let me know in the comments below. But basically, he played 90 minutes every game before African Cup of Nations. And as soon as he's come back, he's straight back in. So I don't think there's really any issues there. And 3.8 million is a great price, considering how well Sunderland have done this season. He's not good for defensive contributions at all, and he's not particularly attacking. But as a fifth defender that you can use in some of the good upcoming fixtures, and that enables funds elsewhere, I think he's a really good pick. And I'm looking at him myself because next week I may well need a cheap defender. So in terms of fixtures you might want to play him in, West Ham away in 23, Burnley at home in 24, Fulham at home in 27, not terrible, Brighton at home in 30, not terrible either. I think he's worth looking at. If you've got a bit more money to spend, then Mukiele, I think 4.4, I would just double check that, but I think that's his price. Yeah, 4.4, he's absolutely nailed as well. Pretty good attacking threat and very good for defensive contributions as well. And you've got Alderete at 4.1 you could also consider. I guess whether you spend the extra... I mean, Reinildo to Mukiele is 0.6 million. That's not nothing. And I know it feels like there's nowhere to spend your money right now, but that could be the difference with another move you want to make later on. So just consider that. Whether he's worth paying the extra 0.6, I think probably comes down to how often you think you're going to use that defender. Now, obviously, sometimes you just get stuck. An injury or a suspension crops up, and you've got to use a defender that you don't really want to. In that case, I would prefer to have Mukiele, because of the defensive contributions, which are obviously important this season. But when I've looked at it, if I buy Reinildo, I'd probably play him in 24. I'd probably play him in 27. Then after that, the plan would be to not use him. So I think in that case, I'd rather just save 0.6 million. So yeah, if you need someone under 4, he is. I don't think there's any other competition. I think it's Reinildo or no one else, basically. So what should we do with Woltemade, Wilson, and presumably that's Harry rather than Callum, and then Virgil van Dijk. So with Woltemade, I think from game week 24 onwards, he's probably just got to go. The Newcastle fixtures get a bit tougher anyway, and you're never going to be sure week to week how many minutes he's going to get, with Visser obviously also able to play that number 9 role. This week specifically against Villa at home in game week 23, if Visser starts in the Champions League, that is probably a good indication that Woltemade will start. So you could maybe keep him if you're not sure where to go, or if you just don't want to make a transfer on it this week. But obviously that's not a guarantee that he would start. Visser could start 2 games in a row like we've seen recently. But if Visser starts Champions League, the prediction will be that Woltemade will start against Villa. So therefore you could keep him. In terms of who you buy, it's really tricky with forwards right now, because Thiago's obviously done really well, but you'd be buying him before Villa away in 24, Newcastle away in 25, and Arsenal at home in 26. I don't think it's terrible to buy him this week or next week and just keep him longer term, because the fixtures 27 to 30, well, to be honest, the fixtures from 27 until game week 35 are great. So that's a pretty good fixture on for a nailed-on penalty taker. So I don't mind him as a long-term pick, but it would be annoying if you got him for these tougher fixtures and then he got injured. The problem is, where do you go if you don't buy Thiago? You cannot buy Watkins right now, in my opinion, because if Villa are looking at other forwards like Tammy Abraham and Mateta, that kind of kills Watkins' minutes. And obviously if Mateta goes, that kills him as an option as well. So you can't buy either of those players, in my opinion. Ekitike is not bad, but it also feels like the wrong time to buy him. If you've got him and you want to hold, I get it. But Bournemouth away, Newcastle at home, City at home, it's not amazing. I think you come back to that in 26. Calvert-Lewin's still pretty good value. His minutes will be decent. But it is Arsenal at home in 24 and Chelsea away in 26. And then Villa away in 27 and City at home in 28. So it's not a great fixture. And even this week is an away game against Everton. João Pedro, who, to be fair, I probably should have mentioned when I answered the Chelsea question, but he's been benched in game week 19, game week 21. His minutes are just not... I have no interest in João Pedro, I've got to be honest. The fixtures are great, 24 to 27, but if Palmer's going to play number 10, that means João Pedro can't also play that position, obviously, and he's not always going to play number 9 with the lap there. I just think João Pedro is a non-starter. And then Jared Bowen, I suspect that a lot of people that own him are probably considering selling soon. But maybe he's not that bad. Like between game weeks 23 to 27, you've got 3 home matches against Sunderland, Man United, and Bournemouth. It's not a bad time to play Bournemouth at the moment. And then Burnley away in 25. But it is Chelsea away in 24, so that's not great either. Honestly, I think Bowen is probably where I would go. Like, Raul Jimenez is probably fine until Muniz comes back. He's not a terrible option either. But as soon as that happens, or if Fulham sign another striker, he'll start getting subbed early again. He won't continue playing like 80 to 90 minutes every week. Forwards are just, I know I keep saying this, they are so rubbish this season. There are hardly any good options, and the transfer window being open is not helping matters. Like, Watkins and Mateta, in theory, are good picks. But if all of a sudden Mateta leaves and Villa buy a new forward, whether that's Mateta or not, that just causes a problem. So I actually really like Watkins because of the fixtures coming up. But because of the speculation about Villa buying someone, it just kind of puts me off a little bit. I mean, Evan Nilsson, the Bournemouth fixtures are quite good. He's got to play at the moment. But I don't know. Evan Nilsson just feels so uninspiring. Honestly, I'd be very tempted to go for Bowen as a punt or just get Thiago in and just leave it at that. Or just go super cheap and get Krupa Jr. in and then use that money elsewhere. So that's a long time on Woltemade. Harry Wilson, I guess you just keep him. I don't see any reason not to. I mean, they are being linked to Oscar Bob, who can play on the right, which is where Harry Wilson plays as well. I know Harry Wilson can also play central, etc., multiple positions, but they are looking to buy another attacker, and they're going to get Iwobi and Chukwueze back as well. Wilson's minutes probably do drop, but he's played really well. He's probably going to continue to start for now, so you just keep him. Van Dijk, if you need the money, sell him. If you need a new, if you don't want to sell any other defender and you want to bring someone new in, just sell him. Or if you need the money, otherwise just do what I'm doing and play it by ear. Like this comes back to what I was saying on the stream the other day. People focus too much on who needs to be sold rather than who needs to be brought. Now, it's always a bit more nuanced than that, of course, right? FPL is not ever really black and white. But with Van Dijk, for example, for my team, I don't want to go into this too much because I'll be doing my team selection video tomorrow. At the moment, because of the Tavernier injury, he's in my 11. Is there a good reason to sell him to a different defender this week specifically rather than roll the transfer? Probably not. I need to think about my team a bit more before tomorrow's video, but probably not. So I will just keep him. If I get to game week 24 and I need to free up some money and I want to keep Lewis Hall, then maybe I sell Van Dijk. And if not, maybe I just bench him. Like, there is a world, if I just bring up Liverpool's fixtures right now, there is a world where I play him against Bournemouth and then I bench him against Newcastle and Man City. And I just keep him on the bench. And we would have looked at that in the past as crazy talk. Why have you got someone like Van Dijk at 5.9 million if you're benching them? What do I need the money for right now? That's what I keep coming back to. If I don't get Cole Palmer, even with Saka and Haaland in my team, I'm not really struggling for cash all that much. Like, there are ways I can get in Rodgers or in Burma and Bruno Fernandes without too much issue. Now, obviously, if I want to get Palmer in, it becomes a bit more difficult. There's just nothing I need the money for. So I can keep someone like Van Dijk on the bench and then just use him later on if I need to, if not sell him. Like, people, obviously we all want the perfect team every week, but people just get so fixated that someone like Van Dijk's this massive problem. But if you're not having to play them and you can afford to bench them, that's fine. But also, if you need the money, he is not value. So sell him. It's not a problem. You need to decide for your own individual team. If you enjoyed that video, make sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button. I'll be back tomorrow on my team selection, which is looking not quite so good as it was before the Tavernier injury, but I think things are kind of okay. There are a few moves I could make. I'll talk about that tomorrow. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you then.